The dreams we have, the love we share, this is what we're waiting for. In my mind, in my head, this is where we all came from. In my mind, in my head, this is where we all came from. In my mind, in my mind, in my head, this is where we all came from. The dreams we had, the love we share, this is what we're waiting for. In my mind, in my head, this is where we all came from. In my mind, in my head, this is where we all came from.
Congratulations, Nate. Hey, that makes two of us, John. Hey, don't forget about the glow stick, Scott. Yeah, thanks, Scott. Yeah, I need it. Your boy took a beating. I'll talk about that when I start the show. The best thing to do is go for one day, not 3. If I would have quit after day 1, I'd be a happy man. Things went from great to bad to worst. But we had a good time, though.
What about love? What about love? You're moving on, you say. Here I stay, watching every night get colder. You're moving on, you say. Here I stay.
Facts, Slim Shady. Facts. All right, let's get this thing going. Enough of this rave music here. Yeah, what about love? That's all right. What is up, everybody? How you doing? It's your boy PigskinPeete. Welcome to the Midday Show. Did you miss me? I missed you guys. It's good to be back home. I had a great time. I say me and Mrs. Peete, we had a great time. And I can't speak for everyone else that was there. But it appeared to me as if they had a great time as well. Of course, we were in Cherokee, North Carolina, up there at the Harrah's Casino, Hotel, and Resort from Monday through yesterday. Well, me, Mrs. Peete, Lou, and Battle Angel were up there Monday through yesterday. Couple other of our YouTube brethren and their significant others also made an appearance. I don't want to leave anybody out here. Huffer Billy and Robin were there for a couple of days. Who else? Sir UGA showed up for a day. Who else? See, I'm already forgetting everybody now. Traveling Fools and Mrs. Traveling Fools. They came for an afternoon and stayed, they didn't stay overnight. They just came for basically a half a day and went out to dinner with us. But we really did have a great time. And there's lots of stories, probably too much to even tell on the Midday Show today. I'm sure we'll talk about it. Lou will talk a lot about it, and so Battle Angel and everybody else. But the first day that we got up there, I don't know, it must have been the luck of the Irish or something. I should have just quit. After day 1, I couldn't miss. Everything I played, I just win. I go from one table to the next, win. I stick money in the slot machine. Shit, one of the first things I did when I got there, I put a $100 bill in a slot machine. Now, I only play slot machines with the wheels. I'm addicted to wheels. All right. So Wheel of Fortune, they got all kinds of different slot machines there where if you get the bonus, you get to spin the wheel and you win money on the wheel. I'm standing there with Lou, and I'm like, I'm going to put $100 in this thing and see what happens. Hit the jackpot on it. Well, the grand jackpot was like 10 grand or something. I hit the one right underneath that for $511. I was like, man, I should just go back to the room right now and give up. And also, I put a little bit of money into this. He calls it the circus wheel. It's a giant wheel that has numbers on it: 1, 2, 3, 6, 12, and then 50. And whichever one of those ones you land on, it multiplies however much you wager on it times that amount of money. So I put $10 on the 50, and it hit the 50. That's 500. That's another 500. Now I'm up $1,000. Later on that day, I played this game that I had never played before. It's called High Card Flush, which is it's really a kind of a luck game. But basically they deal you 7 cards. You pull out whatever your flush is, whether it's 3 or 4 or 5 card flush or 7 card flush or whatever, the same suit of the thing. And I played the bonus. Well, I hit the bonus and I had a 6 card straight flush, another $500. So I'm sitting here feeling really good about myself. Well, the next day, not so good. And then Wednesday, it was the opposite of the first day on Wednesday. I couldn't win at anything. Every single game I played, I lost that. I didn't win a single dollar on Wednesday. I basically pretty much lost all the money that I won on Monday on Wednesday. So, but anyway, to make a long story short, we had a lot of fun. So this is the reason that whenever you win at a casino, now I wasn't, betting high amounts or winning large amounts in comparison to what a lot of other people bet and win. But this is the reason when you go to a casino, if you win a few $1,000s and they know it, they'll offer you a free room, the penthouse, whatever the nicest room there is because they want you to stick around and do what I did and lose everything that you won. So, no, I did not leave the casino up. I definitely lost money, or we lost money, me and Mrs. Peete. But, for the amount of money that we lost, it was worth every. And the rooms were free, and so we didn't lose enough to, have to, go wait in the cheese and bread line. I think we'll be okay. But looking forward to doing it again sometime. We missed a lot of you. Hopefully, next time we decide to do something like this, maybe next summer, you guys can come up and hang out with us for a few days. It's a trap. It is. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Mayhem Matthew and Mrs. Mayhem Matthew also showed up for a day. So it was good to see them. Let's get to the chat here real quick. There's a lot to talk about. Of course, whenever I go out, I don't even think I even opened up my YouTube app the entire time I was gone. That's the way that I do whenever I go away. I sort of disconnect from everything. That's the way that that's just the way that I have to do it. Because I'll get sucked in real quick. If I start scrolling through YouTube, then I'll be sitting in my hotel room watching YouTube all day. And that's not what I wanted to do. I'd rather be out there losing money. You know what I mean? But anyway, so a lot was happening. I saw a lot of news about the ACC. Apparently now there's 7 of the 14 teams. And if you add Notre Dame in there, I guess it's 15 teams, are seriously considering voting themselves out of the conference, which would effectively dissolve the conference. Now, I have mixed feelings on this because I do not necessarily want to see the ACC dissolve. Because the ACC dissolving means that we're eventually on the road to 2 or 3 super conferences, right? The SEC, the Big Ten, and I don't even know where the Pac-12 or the Big 12 would fall into that pantheon, but they would have to do something as well because if the SEC and the Big Ten swallowed up the majority of the ACC teams, then the Big 12 and the Pac-12 would have no choice but to merge or do something else. So I don't necessarily believe that that's good for the sport. I like the regionality. I like the different conferences. But on the other hand of that, just from a team fan perspective, from being a Clemson fan, I've been saying this for years, or at least the past 3 or 4 years, I don't trust the leadership in the ACC. Going all the way back to the deal that they made with Notre Dame, where Notre Dame can basically rake the ACC over the coals. Now, was it mutually beneficial to some degree, the deal that they made with Notre Dame? Yes. Notre Dame's a huge brand. Obviously, I don't care what anybody thinks about Notre Dame. They're a huge brand and obviously can bring in a lot of revenue. But Notre Dame got the better end of that deal. Let's be real here. They get to remain independent, but play an ACC schedule and all that. So I believe that Notre Dame got the better end of the deal on that. Do I blame Notre Dame? Am I mad at Notre Dame for that? No, I'm mad at the ACC for it. But the ACC continues to make terrible decisions, and they're going to end up getting left behind with all the moves that are going on around them around the country. And Clemson and Florida State and a few other schools are big enough brands to where they shouldn't have to bear the brunt of the bad decision-making in the front office of the ACC. So from a pure fan perspective of a team, it would not hurt my feelings in the least to see Clemson exit stage left, and join either the Big Ten or the SEC. Now, I would prefer the SEC for obvious reasons. Region-wise, renew some of these old rivalries that were happening throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s, most notably against the University of Georgia. Also, all of the people that constantly cry about how weak the ACC is, and the only reason that Clemson's any good is because they play in the ACC and they have a soft, weak schedule, blah, 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 blah. As a fan, I'm not scared. I don't think that the coaches or the players or anybody involved with Clemson University would be scared to play an SEC schedule. I also believe it would help with recruiting. Not that Clemson recruits bad, because they don't. They are consistently, over the past decade or more, a top 10 recruiting team year in and year out. I believe that they could improve on the recruiting just by having the SEC footprint. Now, I have no idea where this is going to go. There's a lot of stuff that I just don't understand and don't pretend to, okay, as far as the buyouts and the grant of rights and all that. But I do know that it only takes a majority of teams to dissolve a conference. And I'm not very good at maths and that, because I'm a tater man. But I do know that half of 14 is 7, and 8 is more than half of 14. I do know that much. And right now it appears as if we have 7 teams that are possibly on board to, again, exit stage left. What are those 7 teams? Let me see if I can remember off the top of my head. Miami, Florida State, Clemson, NC State, North Carolina, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. That's 7. I believe that Notre Dame somehow has full voting rights in the ACC. Again, we can discuss whether or not they should. So that would actually be 15 teams instead of 14. I don't know how that would all work out. But the way that I understand it now is you would only need one more team. And I don't know who that team would be. The one that would make the most sense to me would be Georgia Tech. Again, because of the geographic footprint where they are located in SEC country. I don't now. From an academic standpoint, it would make probably more sense for Georgia Tech to go to the Big Ten. But whatever. If anybody has any thoughts on that, when I get done reading the news, I would love to hear some of your thoughts on that. I'm sure we'll discuss all of this on the ACC show coming next Tuesday. Let's see who's in the chat here real quick. Cheers to the chat. We got Colby here, Kevron Harris, Nate the Great, George making a rare appearance on the Midday Show, Ballard Sports Media. What's up, Ballard? Colby, Slim Shady Canes, Stingray, Jeremy Garrettson, Knoll Squad. I wonder how Knoll Squad feels about this. Look, this whole thing started with Florida State and Clemson. Really, it started with Florida State, and Clemson kind of just agreed with them. Florida State, and one of the things that makes this so compelling is the fact that Florida State was so upfront about not only considering the fact of leaving the ACC, but almost threatening to. And then we heard all the stuff about, well, Clemson and Florida State just want more money. They want more money than the rest of the teams in the ACC, which even if that happened, that's not a solution to the problem. Even if you took some of the money from some of the lower revenue generating schools in the ACC and divvied that out between Florida State and Clemson, it still wouldn't make up the difference between what they're losing to the SEC and the Big Ten. It still wouldn't even come close. It's like it's a short-term fix, Band-Aid. And again, that doesn't help. That helps those two schools, but it certainly doesn't help the conference. Taking money away from Pitt or Georgia Tech or anybody else or Wake Forest does not help the conference. It only helps the school that the money's going to. So it's not a solution to the problem at all. What's up, Matt Dummett? The Nature Boy. John Serrain. Scott Kerr, thank you for supporting the show and donating to the Peete Casino Loss Fund. I really appreciate it. VicTube is here. Rick Sanchez. Pete, you've been hustled. Maideskin Mark. I don't even know what the hell that means, and I don't think anybody else does either. What's up, Battle Angel? Cade Clubdick. Dabo sending Tony Elliott pictures of him in Africa while he's in a meeting for 9 hours is top tier Dabo. That is top tier. It was what Dabo's in Africa right now? Is that what you're saying? I hope he's not going on one of those damn open air safaris. That's just ridiculous. Next thing we'll be reading that Dabo got attacked by a tiger or something, which would also be ironic because he is a tiger. JC says, join the SEC, get Georgia and South Carolina. Yes, I would agree with that. People are like, well, that's a hard schedule. Going to the SEC and now you add Georgia into that. That's a ridiculously hard schedule. I'd say, okay, well, eliminate Notre Dame from. We already play Notre Dame on at least a biannual basis on average. So eliminate Notre Dame from that. Let Georgia take their place. D. Taylor. Ghost Striker Cade. Is it still a conference if it has 20 teams? I don't know technically what you'd call that. Rex says, I think Tech ends up in the Big Ten if it all falls apart. I'm assuming that Georgia Tech is an AAU school, and not that matters, because I think they can make exceptions, especially if there's an entire shift in the conference realignments. They might have to make exceptions. But I tend to agree with you, though. And I know I saw your video, Rec, and you made a lot of sense when you said that there's already a huge SEC footprint in the state of Georgia with UGA, so why would they want to add Georgia Tech? Well, the same could be said for the state of South Carolina, right? Now, South Carolina's been in the SEC for a while. And here's what I do know. I know that the Gamecocks and the Gamecock fans in particular do not want Clemson in the SEC. Because right now they can lose to Clemson, 7 out of 8 years on the regular, and it doesn't affect their conference standing. But if you add Clemson into the SEC, that hurts the Gamecocks, I believe, and I think that they know that. So, Seminole Seth P digits. Luke is here. R.I.P. ACC. All right, so here's what we'll do. We'll read the news, and maybe there will be something in the news, hopefully there will be, about the ACC. Well, even if there isn't, I can look it up. You know what, let's actually do that first, but without further ado.
Breaking news from the PigskinPeete YouTube channel.
let's take a look. Somebody just said, Pete, have you heard about, let me see if I find it. What do you think about the SEC game going to ABC and the ESPN in 2024? SEC games? Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I don't even know what to search for this. Yeah. Here, let's do this. Let's just go to the sports section real quick and see if there's any headlines on there. There should be. Oh, look at LeBron flopping again. Jeez, this guy. Hey, look, I want to go ahead and say I don't care about NBA basketball. I mean, I just don't care. But anybody, you can discuss about LeBron's skill level, but you're not the greatest of all time just based on skill. And first of all, I don't even think that's true anyway. I believe that Michael Jordan is the best overall player of all time. And I don't even want to hear any argument about it. But you would never, ever, ever see Michael Jordan flopping. It just wouldn't happen. The guy's got too much pride. Great people don't flop. He's known for this. Now, I understand he got hurt. I'm not even talking about the injury. I'm talking about the blatant flopping that he does over, and he's known for this. Let's see if I can find it's probably not at the top of the headlines because this happened earlier in the week. And you know how the news cycles go. And we're basically on a 24 to 48 hour news cycle because nobody has the attention span to care about anything that happened more than 48 hours ago, apparently. But let me try this. Well, this is about Florida State. Florida State's future in the ACC remains unsettled following unified spring meetings in Amelia Island. Despite the call of unity and honest exchanges during the three-day ACC spring meetings earlier this week in Amelia Island, why does it still feel as if the ACC membership, specifically Florida State, Clemson, and Miami, is smiling just for show? The 14-team membership appears to be temporarily unified during this turbulent time nationally. This proud conference, under talented Commissioner Jim Phillips, is trying its best to navigate roaring instability. Despite the backdrop, the ACC has celebrated 12 NCAA team championships since the start of the 2021-2022 academic year. Okay, that is true. But football is what drives all these other sports. We all know that. The Seminoles athletics director, Michael Alford, has worked tirelessly behind the scenes and his voice of reason in front of ACC and national media cameras. Florida State hasn't always had a powerful presence at the head table during conference meetings. This is a high-stakes game that will determine the Seminoles' future, specifically where the athletics program stands financially among its peers in the SEC and the Big Ten. There's no easy solutions for Florida State, Clemson, and the others in the ACC. This is the harsh reality. No matter how the ACC plans to handle the revenue sharing, it won't be the solution. That's exactly what I just said at the top of the show. No matter how they decide to share the revenue within the conference, that's not going to solve the bigger problem. It might end up actually hurting the conference. Any tweaks will never eliminate the massive gap between the cash in the SEC and the Big Ten will soon deposit and what the ACC schools continue to receive. One positive is if any changes will offer some budget relief to the top tier programs such as Florida State. The financial bump received from potential quote unquote success initiatives such as making the college football playoffs or NCAA men's basketball tournament could add more than $10 million in revenue annually. $10 million. Yeah. This is one of the issues. This is the reason the ACC is in the position that they're in. Is because if you act like you're just a basketball conference, then you get treated like one. And I have nothing. Look, basketball is the second biggest revenue generating sport in the NCAA. We all know that. But why would you want to focus on the second biggest revenue generating sport instead of the first? If you ain't first, you're last, Ricky Bobby. Okay? And there's no reason. Look all around the country, man. The SEC is, and the Big Ten, the biggest football conferences from top to bottom, the biggest revenue generating conferences from top to bottom in the sport, but they also excel at other sports. Why? Because of the money and support they receive from football. This isn't rocket science. Rising tides lift all ships. I know the ACC has a proud history in basketball, and you can continue to have that, but the revenue suffering that's happening in the ACC through football is filtering down to these other sports, and you're starting to see that the ACC is on the verge of not even being the best basketball conference anymore, and that has a lot to do with football, and it's only going to get worse. Where was I? Anyway, yet quote-unquote success initiatives also place tremendous pressure on those two Florida State sports to be successful and offered to be near perfect with its budgetary decisions. I applaud Florida State for doing this, for sort of leading this. Now, Clemson is, right there with them, I think. But they have been the most vocal about this and really putting pressure on the rest of the conference. And so as much as I hate Florida State, I like what they're doing. Winning your way to more money sounds reasonable, but the trickle-down economics can still sink in sports. Can you see Alford having a look at softball coach? Oh, this is a... Now, this is more... Let's see here. Some of this, I'm sorry, guys. It's going to be sort of repetitive from the first article that I read, but I want to talk about more than just Florida State because there's obviously a lot more teams involved. I want to see if there's anything in these articles that mentions teams other than maybe just Clemson or Florida State, such as Miami, North Carolina, and their possible effects. The first day of meetings revealed that 7 schools had formed an alliance. A revelation that came as a surprise to those on the outside looking in. Was it really, though? When I heard about it, I wasn't surprised at all. Why would it be a surprise to anybody that the ACC doesn't want to be earning $30 and $40 million less per year than the other conferences? Now, of course, Jim Phillips is putting on a clown face, a.k.a. happy face, pretending like there's nothing to see here. Move on, nothing to see here. Of course, that's what he's getting paid to do, but we're all in this together, he says. Yeah. You won't be in it together if the conference doesn't exist anymore, will you? And you'll be out of a job, too. We believe in the ACC and want to continue to work together. They had better, with the primary mission being changes that might assist in closing the gap on the media rights deals of the SEC and the Big Ten. Yes, so a lot of this is just repeating what I've already said, but I really want to see. So here's another quote from Jim Phillips. But we want to close the gap. We need to close the gap between the top two conferences that have started to run away from us. So what are you going to do that, Jim? Now, look, in fairness, it's not Jim Phillips' fault. Okay, he's new to the game. He's new to the leadership role in the ACC. He didn't create these problems. John Swofford is one of the ones that created some of these problems, especially the Notre Dame problem. I'm calling it a problem. Other people may disagree with me as far as Notre Dame goes. But anyway, this is not Jim Phillips' issue, okay? He's not the one that created these problems. He's the one that has to try to fix it, and he's kind of between a rock and a hard place because of all the different contracts. Now, I don't really know. The grant of rights thing is the one that most people point to about that runs through 2036. Here's the way I understand it. And again, I could be wrong. Any individual team that wants to leave the conference has to fork out upwards of $120 million, between $120 and $130 million off the rip just to get out, to say bye-bye. Then they're also have their hands tied with the grant of rights through 2036. And what the grant of rights is, the way that I understand it, is that their TV right revenue, no matter what conference they're in, is going to the ACC. So if Clemson somehow finds a way to pay the $122 million or whatever it is and says, we're going to the SEC. Well, all the TV revenue that they generate through the SEC until 2036 goes to the ACC, not to Clemson and not to the SEC. So that's sort of where your hands are tied. Now, on the other hand, on the other side of that, though, I have heard several people with more knowledge about the law and contracts than I do say that this could easily be overturned in court if they really wanted to go that route. I think everybody thinks that when you sign a contract, it's 100% legally binding and there's no overturning it. It's ironclad. That is just not the case. These type of things, when they go to court, get overturned all the time. Especially with this kind of money on the line. So it is possible, is very possible that if even if you don't have the 8 teams to dissolve the conference, decide to do that any individual conference or pairs like a Florida State and Clemson or whatever could take this contract thing to court and win. So, now they might not win. I don't know. Let's see. No one is leaving, at least not yet, thanks primarily to the grant of rights agreement that extends until 2036 that would carry hefty monetary penalties that would essentially prohibit teams from an early exit. Well, again, that's what it's designed to do, but that doesn't mean that it's ironclad. It could definitely be overturned. Here is what Florida State athletic director, here back with Florida State again. He's saying all the right things. Of course, he's at the ACC meetings. What is he supposed to say? We want to leave? No, he's not going to say that. He goes, the athletic directors and universities are very unified, so we're thrilled about being in this league, and we want to stay in it. Do you, though? I'm not sure that you do. Oh, here we go. See, this is something I haven't heard yet. A report also surfaced that Louisville could join the group, creating the Great Eight. Having half of the league's membership in the fold could potentially negate the grant of rights. Yeah, I just think it's a matter of time before you get that one extra team that you're missing right now. I mean, 2 months ago, all we heard it was just Florida State and Clemson, and now we've got 7. 6 weeks, 8 weeks from now, we might hear 1 or 2 more teams that have decided to join that group. Because I'll tell you one thing, you don't want to be the one that gets left behind, do you? No. No. Let's see who else we got here. What's up, Joey? Harry Legg, Zona Tucson 93, Dave Stellar. Ultra Magadog. ACC don't want the SEC smoke. Of course they do. If there's multi-millions of dollars in that smoke, then they want that smoke. So, All right, let's get to the regular news now. Enough about the ACC. Well, listen, we'll be talking a lot about the ACC in the coming months, and hopefully not years. Hopefully this thing gets resolved one way or another. It could get ugly, though. Let's see. The Orcas have sunk 3 boats in Europe and appear to be teaching others to do the same. But why? I'll tell you why. Because you keep capturing them and putting them in swimming pools, and they're getting pissed off about it. They've had it up to here, and they're not going to take it anymore. They see a boat, and they go, that boat might be here to capture me and put me in a swimming pool. So I'll go ahead and sink it. This is pretty interesting, though, because there's never been a recorded attack on an actual human. I'm not talking about a boat, but a diver or somebody swimming in the ocean or whatever the case is. There's never been a recorded attack from an orca on a human in the wild, only in swimming pools. So the fact that they're attacking boats now is actually pretty interesting. Orcas have attacked and sunk a 3rd boat off the Iberian coast of Europe. And experts now believe the behavior is being copied by the rest of the population. So you got one rogue orca, and now the rest of them are copying him or her. Yeah, Harry Legg, I talked about it at the top of the show. I won't spend too much time on it, but day one, if I would have quit after day one, I'd be a tip-top, as Raj would say, tip-top Magoo shape. I couldn't miss on day one. Day 2, not as good as day 1. Day 3, a complete and total disaster. Although yesterday, day 4, which we checked out yesterday morning, at 11 a.m. like when you're supposed to check out. And we had a couple of hours to kill before we had to get on the road to come back home. So me and Mrs. Peete decided we'd go back down to the casino and for a couple of hours and try our luck a little bit more. And we actually did good. Both of us did really good at the blackjack table. And so we recovered some of our losses, but just not enough to get us back to even. You know what I mean? So to make a long story short, we did not win money overall. We lost money overall, but we had a great time. So 3 orcas, also known as killer whales, struck the yacht on the night of May 4th in the Strait of Gibraltar, off the coast of Spain, and pierced the rudder. There were 2 smaller and 1 larger orca. Skipper Werner Schaffenberger. God, that might be the most German name in the history of German names. Werner Schwarzenberger, told the German publication, the little one shook the rudder at the back while the big one repeatedly backed up and rammed the ship with full force from the side. Damn, they were big mad, weren't they? Schloffelberger said that he saw the smaller orcas imitate the larger one. The two little orcas observed the bigger one's technique. With a slight run-up, they too slammed into the boat. Spanish Coast Guards rescued the crew and towed the boat to Barbate, but it sank at the port entrance. Damn. That thing was on life support and it sank right when they got back to the port. I wonder how big that boat was. Well, they called it a yacht, so I guess, that's a loose term. Wow. Hey, do we have any, boaters in here? How long does a ship have to be to officially be a yacht? I know it's like over a certain length. Two days earlier, a pod of 6 orcas assailed another sailboat navigating in the strait. Greg Blackburn, who was aboard the vessel, looked on as a monster orca appeared to teach her calf how to charge into the rudder. So this seems to be a thing where they're well, first of all, you would think that if a small any size orca, but especially a small one, was going to charge itself into the rudder, that it would injure the orca. Now, of course, depending on how big the rudder is and how big the orca is, it may injure it, but not, it may not be a fatal injury, but I don't know. It seems to me as if that would cause some damage to the orca by running into the rudder. Unless maybe the rudders, maybe they're doing it whenever the rudder is stationary and not running. Maybe that's the reason. And they're just destroying the rudder while it's not running. That's probably what's going on here. Reports of aggressive encounters with orcas off of the Iberian coast began in May of 2020 and are becoming more frequent. Maybe these orcas are associating large boats or small ships or whatever you want to call them with fishing. And they figure if they eliminate the boat, then they'll have more food. I don't know. I'm not in the mind of an orca. But they are highly intelligent animals. Assaults seem to be mainly directed at sailing boats and follow a clear pattern, with orcas approaching from the stern to strike the rudder, then losing interest once they have successfully stopped the boat. So they're just trying to, incapacitate the boat, not necessarily, flip it over or whatever. They just want to stop it. Interesting. Four children found alive weeks after plane crash. Wow. I'm glad they were found alive. If my kids were in a plane crash and out to fend for themselves in the wild, they wouldn't last 3 days. Shit. The children were rescued by members of the military, firefighters, and civil aviation authority officials in the dense jungles of Colombia's. Well, that's why. These kids are from Colombia. They're survivors. I'm not talking about Columbia, South Carolina. I'm talking about the country. The plane, a Cessna 206, was carrying 7 people en route between Araraquara in the Amazonas province and San Jose. And hell, I can't pronounce any of this shit. When it issued a Mayday alert to engine failure in the early hours of May 1st, 3 adults, including the pilot, died as a result of the crash, and their bodies were found inside the plane. 4 children aged 13, 9, and 4, as well as an 11-month-old baby, a baby, survived the impact. That's interesting. All the adults died and all the children lived. I wonder why that is. Maybe because the adults were in the front of the plane and the kids were in the back, and the front of the plane took the brunt of the crash. Preliminary information from the Civil Aviation Authority, which coordinated the rescue efforts, suggests that children escaped the plane and set off into the rainforest to find help. Rescuers, supported by search dogs, had previously found discarded fruit the children ate to survive, as well as improvised shelters made with jungle vegetation. So not only do these kids have the wherewithal to go off into the jungle and look for food and find food, fruit and whatnot, they also built a shelter to shield themselves, I'm assuming, from rain and whatnot. That's all there is on that story. So they survived and were rescued. A 19-year-old arrested after driving 176 miles per hour on I-5 near Portland. Holy hell. Dora the Explorer really paying off. Yeah. Something tells me nobody in the Latin American countries actually watches Dora the Explorer. It's only white people in the U.S. A 19-year-old was stopped and arrested early Wednesday after a deputy clocked him driving 176 miles per hour, according to the Washington County Sheriff's Office. About 12:32 a.m. on May 17th, the deputy was conducting speed enforcement on I-5 near Highway 217, just south of Portland, Oregon. When the deputy saw a 2016 BMW M3 traveling fast southbound on I-5, a speed gun recorded them at 176 miles per hour. Jeez-a-ree. The driver, Milo Schneider, was arrested for reckless driving. He was booked in the Washington County Jail. According to the Sheriff's Department, Schneider told deputies he looked at his speedometer and said he was going 183 miles. So they clocked him at 176 miles per hour. He goes, no. Don't shortchange you, boy. I was going 183 miles per hour. He's proud of it. Like a NASCAR driver over here. Put that man in a fireproof suit and throw him in a stock car. Make some money. Kevin O'Leary, who's the guy from Shark Tank, the guy who pretends to be like a huge asshole, says that Tesla's Cybertruck has a really ugly look, but the demand is huge. I almost just don't even care about this story, but look at that thing. Apparently, the tires on this thing are virtually indestructible. You're not getting a flat tire on that thing. Anyway, Kevin says it's a very interesting vehicle. It's got a really ugly look. Ugly is interesting. And to be honest with you, I've got investments in providers that are providing technology for that truck. And we know that the demand is huge. The design may be giving off tech-forward brutalist vibes, but it could be a positive overall for its production efficiency. So he's got money tied up in not in the Cybertruck itself, but into companies that have parts in the truck, I guess. So he has an invested interest in this, of course. Now, I'll say I particularly don't like the way it looks. I mean, it looks like some Mad Max type shit. But the features on it and the things that it can do are very cool. I'll give them that. It's going to be the first time I see one of those on the road, you know. Isn't it? Tesla's CEO Elon Musk expects the long-awaited Cybertruck will hit mass production in 2023. He has touted that orders had crossed 250,000 in the first week of availability. Wow, that's crazy. But media reports estimate the total number of reservations are north of 1.5 million. Why would he undervalue how many orders that he had for his own vehicle? So he's saying the orders crossed 250,000, trucks in the first week, but the media says at 1.5 million or more. I wonder why he'd shortchange it so much. That doesn't make any sense. It seems like if anything, the owner of the company would embellish the amount of orders, not under embellish it. I don't understand that. I believe him more than I believe the media, because he's the one that owns the company. I think he has a pretty good idea on how many trucks have been ordered from his company. Disney is to close the Star Wars hotel that opened up in Florida last year. They have a Star Wars hotel? What? Oh, this is okay, so the article is from Los Angeles, but this is actually about the hotel in Florida. What's up, Rack Dog? I'm glad to be back, my friend. Walt Disney Company will shutter its immersive Star Wars themed luxury hotel in Orlando this September, less than 2 years after it opened, as the media giant cuts costs throughout its entertainment and parks and businesses. That's code word for nobody wanted to stay at that fucking hotel, so they have to shut it down. Look, you don't shut down a successful hotel. That's just all there is to it. If the hotel was turning a profit, they wouldn't be shutting it down. Don't talk about, how'd they put it here? Oh, cut costs. Yeah, no. Cut costs. That's code word for we're losing money hand over fist, having to pay these stormtroopers to stand around and pretend to shoot lasers at our guests. Star Wars hotel. Some Star Wars fans had complained at the cost of staying at the Star Cruiser. So the name of the hotel is called the Star Cruiser. Was too high. Bookings started at $4,800. Booking started at $4,800 for 2 guests. And they wonder why no one wanted to stay there? Does it come with a blowjob from Princess Leia for $4,800? Jesus Christ. Look, first of all, children can't check into a hotel because children don't have jobs. Grown people who are still that much into Star Wars, believe me, they don't have jobs either. So who do you expect to pay $4,800 to stay there? God almighty. Whose idea was this? Whoever that is, whoever's idea it was to build this hotel and charge $4,800 to stay there, I hope they've been fired because they're well.
The forecast for today is partly stupid with 100% chance of dumbass.
So for here's what you get for $4,800 for two guests. The price included 2 days and 2 nights of the 100-star cruiser cabin. So there's only 100 rooms in this place. Galactic-inspired food and drink. What the fuck? I don't know. I paid like what was like $9 or $10 per drink at Harris Cherokee Casino. I got a free room. They could have look if they could have put some blue Caraco in my bourbon and soda, and called it whatever the hell Star Wars name they wanted to call it, but it still only cost $10. They're probably out here making these, the Death Star drink and charging you $30 for it just because it's called the Death Star. Disney also said on Thursday it's canceling its plans to build a nearly $1 billion corporate campus in Florida, in part due to the changing business conditions amid the battle with Republican Governor Ron DeSantis. Yeah, I think that's really what this is all about. Well, first of all, there's not anybody willing to pay $4,800 for two guests for 2 nights. That's a ridiculous amount, just so they can. Well, I don't even know. I don't know what else they do there. So there's that. So sorry, all you Star Wars fans out there. They're shutting down the Star Wars hotel in Florida. This is interesting. The U.S. Air Force to award 6th generation fighter contract in 2024. I don't know how many of you guys listen to some of these podcasts like Rogan and Lex Friedman and them, but look, this has nothing to do with. There's a U.S. Former U.S. Navy pilot named Ryan Graves. They have them on there to talk about the UFOs and the UAPs and all this kind of shit. He's one of these guys that has come in contact with these unidentified aerial phenomenon or whatever they're calling them these days. I call them UFOs because I'm old school. But anyway, this isn't about UFOs. This is about the fighter jets. He was on, I believe it was Friedman's podcast, explaining about the Generation 5 fighter jets that were featured in the latest movie, a rendition of Top Gun, the most recent Top Gun that came out, what was that, last year? And what he said essentially was that as far as fighter jet technology goes, this does kind of link into UFOs and stuff because they're talking about the technology it would take to create some of the maneuvers and things that happen with these unidentified things that they're seeing. But essentially what he says was we've reached the maximum as far as fighter jet technology with the Generation 5. They're so advanced that there's really not any more advancements you can make with that kind of technology. Now, this is way above my pay grade. I don't pretend to know what the fuck I'm talking about. But he does because he flies these things. So it's interesting to me that according to a Navy pilot, that they've reached the technology threshold with Generation 5 fighter jets. There's really not anything you can do to make them any better, according to him. So, but according to this article here, they're going to create a 6th gen fighter jet. So I don't know what the difference is between the Gen 5 and the Gen 6, but. And for those who saw the Top Gun movie, those whatever fake country they were supposed to be fighting against in the Top Gun movie. Those jets that they had the dogfight in with, towards the end of the movie, those were Generation 5 fighter jets. The U.S. Air Force intends to award a contract in 2024 for its 6th generation fighter jet as it races to retain an edge against rapid advances in Chinese military technology. Lockheed Martin Corporation, of course, Boeing, these are the ones that create the Generation 5 jets. Compete for the next generation air dominance program, which will replace Lockheed's F-22 Raptor with a fighter built to battle alongside drones. Okay, so that makes more sense. So it's not really a better plane; it's just a different plane with a different purpose. So it's basically a Gen 5 created for a different purpose, to fight along drones. That's what it is. The new fighter will survive, persist, and adapt in all air domain, all within highly contested operational environments. No one does this better than the United States Air Force, but we will lose the edge if we don't move forward now. Yeah. Yeah. You sure about that? The Air Force plans to spend $2.3 billion on the program in the fiscal 2024 and an additional $595 million to continue engine development for the new fighter. Yeah. And there's a picture. I believe that picture right there is of a Gen 5 fighter, the Raptor. Yeah, it says right here. Those things are ridiculous. According to that pilot, he's like, well, first of all, in that movie, there were several things that couldn't, I mean, a lot of it was accurate, but some of it was just ridiculous. The opening scene where Tom Cruise gets in that F5 jet and goes to whatever, Mach 11, he's like the first human to ever go to like Mach 11 or whatever. And of course, the airplane starts to fall apart, so he ejects at Mach 11. If you eject at Mach 11, it will just rip your body apart. You'd be vaporized. Your body can't handle that speed unless you're inside a pressurized cabin of a fighter jet. It's just not possible. But the other thing he said wasn't possible is an F-18 fighting against a Generation 5 fighter jet in air-to-air combat. It's like, it would be like Mike Tyson, boxing with a high school student. I mean, it's just not possible. You would lose. So, well, unless you're Tom Cruise, of course. Unless you're Tom Cruise. All right, enough for the news. Let's see who's on the StreamYard here. Let's see, we got, looks like Slim Shady Canes, Luke Walker, and of course, Nate the Great. What's up, gentlemen?
What's up, y'all? I'm officially done with my intern program. Just graduated like 15 minutes ago. And got my high school diploma and certificate. So yeah, officially done.
Nate, shouldn't you be at a party like 6 shots in already?
I wish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nate should be 6 shots in.
He should be 6 O'Douls in by now.
Oh yeah, O'Douls.
Yeah.
Something.
I don't do
Potato, potato.
Or rum.
I actually have what do you call them? Coors Edge, which is kind of Coors Light, but NA.
Right.
But Yeah, I'm actually wearing a suit from the
Boy, looking sharp.
Look at Nate. Hold on, I got to show you guys this. I don't think I've ever seen Nate look like this before. Oh shit, what am I doing?
They was like he used to be working on Wall Street.
Nate is a sharp dressed
Look
man.
at this man here.
My mom actually thought about Johnny Cash with this black suit.
Johnny Cash, huh?
Hey, you couldn't shave for your graduation?
Yeah. So I applaud the color scheme and the shirt and tie and all that, but do you own a beard trimmer? What is going on?
I have zero shaving blades left.
No, I said a beard trimmer.
No, I don't.
Yeah, clearly. Did you also decide to skip out on the haircut too?
Well, I'm planning to get on one today.
Oh, in your suit?
Well, no, I don't want to change.
I was talking about a haircut before the ceremony, not after.
Maybe he's just going for the dirty Q-tip look. I mean, that's in these days.
But it's kind of I don't know if you call it disgusting or kind of weird, but I haven't shaved since the Slob Olympics.
Okay.
Well,
That is kind of weird.
well, I haven't either, so.
Uh-oh.
I mean, guess what, Nate? I haven't either, but I've got a beard trimmer and I've trimmed my beard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if my dad has a electric beard, but it will usually hurt if you have long hair like this.
Yeah, that's why you have to do it like every day. You don't let it get long and then try to trim it down short. You got to maintain it.
It's a
Well, Nate, that's also an electric razor, Nate. A beard trimmer and an electric razor are two different things.
Yeah.
It's a
That's an electric razor.
Hey, Nate, can we see a full body? Can you set your phone down and we can see like your entire outfit and not just the bottom of your chin? Yeah. Are you laying down?
Well,
Can you stand up?
we won't be able to see all of it.
Yeah, set that phone down.
I gotta find perfect.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Now back
Did you
up.
polish your shoes, Nate?
I want to critique your outfit here. All right. Can you back up more? Can we see your shoes?
Well, I took all my shoes already, but I can go put back
All
on.
right. So far, you're looking good. Oh,
What kind of belt is that, Nate?
yeah.
Is that a leather belt?
It's like those belts that you. It's like a flexible belt that you.
It's an adjustable belt. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't have holes in it, right?
No.
Yeah. It's like one of those ones that clicks. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Oh, a ratchet belt?
Yeah, ratchet belt.
I don't know why I have a timer on here.
God damn.
Did you say that Nate has a ratchet belt?
Yeah. Hey Nate, do you have like a blazer or a jacket to go with that, or are you just wearing that?
I just wore this for the graduation, but I used to have one, but I don't know if I have one now. But I actually think I wore this for prom.
Oh, so you just wore your prom outfit.
What was your senior quote, Nate?
I think I need a. If I remember right, I said. I don't know if we did a senior quote, which is kind of stupid because
Whoever wields this hammer shall wield the power of Thor. That kind of thing.
Shall we power?
I actually do remember. I said. I actually say the exact same thing on Triumph Fools. I think so. 3 months ago, before this last year's Slav Olympics, I said.
Yeah, we know you got on there and talked about your hammer, Nate. We know.
Hey, and Pete laughed his ass off when I said this. I said it's too small to be short. That's why I was.
Yeah.
What?
Exactly. Doesn't make any sense. So
what I meant is the hammer.
Well, I know what you're talking about, but the words that just came out of your face hole don't seem to go together.
Yeah.
Well, it's too small to be short.
Doubling down on it now.
Yeah.
That doesn't really make
But
too small to be
Hey
short.
Nate, and
I thought it would be too small.
you said you were going to do a speech. Did you end up doing a speech?
Oh,
yes. So basically, I did a speech. I should have asked my mom to video record it.
oh, so you're already done. You're done with your graduation.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
why I'm home.
So you just haven't changed yet.
Yeah.
Now, you didn't talk about your hammer during the speech, did you?
No, luckily no.
Hold on, can we?
Hey, Nate, if you can remember the speech, can you give it to us right
Yeah,
now?
thank you, Colby. Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, hold on. Get closer to the camera.
Who just turned on their Xbox? I recognize that sound.
It's probably big. So,
Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be-
give us.
that would-
So hold on. Let me set this up. So the graduation is this? Do you do this before the ceremony, or is it to open the ceremony, or at the end?
it's near the end, but it's right before the ceremony, though.
What?
Because
Huh?
Beginning or end, Nate?
Yeah, just go ahead, Nate. Go ahead.
near the end. So,
All right. So they call you Nate. The Nate now is going to give a speech to the 2023 graduating class of whatever this thing is. Nate, come to the stage.
yeah, project search thing.
Okay, Nate, come to the stage, sir. And everyone gives a round of applause, right? Yay, Nate! Whee! All right. So now the floor is yours.
All right. I want to thank you all to the staff and co-workers and for making our work experience. I think I'm getting nervous. I think, but
Did you do this during the speech too, or is this just for us?
no, I'm just getting nervous because I didn't do this during speech. I was,
Oh, all right. Well, good.
Nervous in front of us, Nate.
Yeah, you should be less nervous in front of us. We know you.
I know. That's
Yeah.
why I was trying to remember the exact words. But if I don't, I
All right, just
try this.
try not to remember. Just let it happen naturally.
Okay.
All right.
I want to thank you all for helping us to experience what work it was like, and also thank you to my teachers or my teachers that helped me during the rotations I was at, and I also wanted to thank my co-workers and my supervisors that also helped me during the rotation I was at, and I wouldn't be here if I were at home doing stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways, let's get started. First things first, my first rotation, co-workers and supervisor was in the kitchen. Thank you for helping me make salads and dinner salads for patients, and helping me learn to do the dishes in the dishwasher or dishes in the dishwasher room, and I also want to thank my second rotation, Central Services, where I cleaned the poopy chairs with the steamer. And wasn't it was not really my favorite rotation. It's probably my least favorite rotation, but I did not definitely say that at the speech.
Yeah. How long is this speech, Nate?
Pretty long.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'll do like 5 minutes.
Oh no, we're not doing 5 minute speech. I wouldn't have told you to do it if it was gonna be 5 minutes long.
Only 5 more minutes if we want,
Yeah.
but
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes. So 10-minute speech then.
well,
That felt like 5 minutes already.
Yeah.
I want to thank third rotation the lens rotation, which is probably my second favorite because it's a really good environment to be around. You just I want to thank my coworkers Jan and Ken for helping me learn what's the lens all about, and delivering towels and washcloths and bibs for babies to lay on. I don't know, but thank you for everything, and God bless.
All right. That was great. You did a great job.
Proud of you, Nate. Congratulations.
Yeah. So, a couple things. Are you planning? Much longer are you going to keep the suit on? I know. Look, you feel you don't dress up a lot, probably, Nate. So you feel good. So you figured, all right, I took all the time and energy and effort to put this nice shirt and tie on. So now I'm just going to lounge, around the house for the rest of the day wearing it, right?
Well, I could be the Superman, just rip it off.
No, don't rip it. Your mom paid good money for that shirt. Don't do that.
Yeah, I didn't iron it. My mom did. I just picked the shirt out and the tie.
Yeah.
Yeah, loosen up that tie.
Oh,
Got to loosen it up.
Yeah.
that's tight.
So now that you graduated, well, we already talked about this with the mock interview that we did with you. So now it's time to go find a paying job.
Yep.
Yeah.
Currently, I'm still on my current job, part-time job. I didn't know I'd earn a lot of money with. So my current job is basically the job I was currently working on, the kids program, or what do you call it, the after school program.
You're gonna have a hard time taking that tie off whenever it's buttoned on. There you go. Well, here's one. So Nate texted me when I was at the casino. Let me see if I can read this text to you. This is funny. Hold on. Where is it? So it's, of course, Nate wants to come stay with me during football season. For look at Nate, you have to unbutton the buttons on your collar. So Nate wants to come stay with me, and so he said, here's his text. I was thinking of coming down on the 27th of September on a Wednesday and coming back home on Monday, October 2nd. So, which is fine. Here's the only problem, Nate. That weekend is both mine and my sister's birthday weekend.
Oh, oops.
Yeah.
Even more reason for Nate to come and go with you for your birthday.
Yeah.
Well, my point is, there's probably going to be a lot going on, because me and my sister share her birthday. Well, her birthday is a day before mine. But
Wait a minute. Are you saying you don't want to share your birthday with Nate? Is that what you're saying?
no, I'm just saying that might not be the best weekend because there's going to be a lot going on. I'd rather have just a weekend with Nate where we can just chill and do YouTube and watch football. And I would also like to take Nate around Charleston and show him things. But I won't be able to do any of that if it's that weekend when I'll be busy with doing family stuff. That's all. Maybe a different weekend, Nate.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that weekend because that's when Michigan and Nebraska play. So
yeah. How about maybe?
So that's good for Nate's schedule.
I don't know. We'll get together about maybe a different date, Nate.
all right,
But
Well, actually, thank you for letting me know beforehand. So.
Yeah. Hey, listen, don't go book a flight without me confirming the dates first. Okay, please.
Good.
But yeah.
And don't do a flight without telling your mom either.
Yeah, well, speaking of jumping the shark, I hate to nullify your whole opening monologue of the show, Pete.
Yeah.
But the deal's already done.
What?
ACC's not disbanding.
Well, for now.
What deal?
Well, no, they've agreed to a different revenue split.
Really?
Yeah. Again, for now. But
Yeah, well, according to Dan Radakovich, because that's who the Miami Herald interviewed. I mean, you're talking. They're talking like 4, 5, 6 year foreseeable future. Nothing's fixing to change.
Oh, okay. And what is the new revenue split going to be?
Exactly what Pete alluded to. You
Yeah.
get an extra $10 million if you make the tourney, if you make the playoffs, and other things. I mean, that's not the only thing. But
yeah, so basically, not enough to make up the difference between, and that's why I say, okay, that's fine if they're going to say that. I have a feeling they're saying that now to save face for the next year or two. But we're going to revisit this thing a year from now or 2 years from now. I promise you, we are.
Well, I don't doubt that they'll revisit it.
Yeah.
You're probably right about that.
I found a Phoenix box on the ground.
They're saving their face.
Yeah, saving their face.
Well, and
yeah.
you know, to your point too, from what Dan Radakovich was saying in that article when the Miami Herald interviewed him, because me and not Bobby Darkins were talking about this on. He opened up StreamYard for the first time ever yesterday.
Wow.
What me and him were talking about it. From what Dan Radakovich is saying, they're being told that there's no point in trying to take it to court. That it is an airtight contract.
Uh-oh.
Hey, Pete, you can switch it to normal VH1.
Yeah. Well, there's really not. I don't know. Again.
But,
and it is like you said, even if they pay the $120 million, yeah, the ACC network still owns their television rights.
Hey, I had a question for Pete.
Yeah.
So if Clemson does join the SEC, what would happen to Clemson's soccer team? Because they're one of the best in the nation. Would they join the SEC too? Because SEC doesn't have men's soccer.
I'd imagine something would happen with the other ACC schools that would also join the SEC.
Yes.
Like form their own break-off thing.
Yeah, because I mean, you have like for instance, Notre Dame. It belongs to the ACC in football, but some of their other sports, they don't.
But the SEC has soccer.
Is that true?
SEC does not have soccer.
Yeah, they have soccer, but
They have women's soccer. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's talking about men's soccer.
oh, okay.
Well, maybe that would, first of all, it's shocking to me that a conference like the SEC doesn't have men's soccer in 2023. Maybe if they got 3 or 4 ACC teams to join the conference that do have soccer teams, that would put a hair in their ass to start their own soccer league.
Well, we did at one time.
Yeah.
And then back when I was in 9th grade, everyone didn't have soccer teams except Florida. Florida was the only soccer team in the SEC.
So they won every year by default.
Yeah, they were champions. Yeah. Yeah, Florida's a men's soccer school.
Right. Yeah, I have no idea how that would work, but I'm sure they'd figure some sort of weird thing out. Like
It'd be
Luke
interesting
said.
with all the Olympic sports to see what happens, because the SEC doesn't have a lot of Olympic sports that a lot of ACC teams do have.
Yeah. I don't know. But going back to what Slim was saying, he's talking about the airtight contract as far as the grant of rights. Well, I believe part of the deal is that the grant of rights contract is null and void if you have the majority of the teams in the ACC decide to dissolve it. So it'd be a moot
Well,
point.
that's speculated. That's not confirmed. Nobody really knows.
Oh. It's a big mess.
And also, dissolving the ACC would be a huge mess.
Sure, of course.
So it's
Yeah, I want the ACC to be intact still. I don't think anybody should join the SEC, but if they do, I want it to be Miami, and Clemson. Yeah, a lot of speculation is going around Florida State.
Why Miami and Clemson, but not Florida State?
Well, I would want Clemson, but Florida State, it's just mine. But I would rather have Miami than Florida State.
Well, I think Florida State fits in more because Florida State is in North Florida and Miami is in South Florida.
Well, that kind of is kind of the point,
most likely
because
scenario is Florida State and Clemson to the SEC, and North Carolina and Miami to the Big Ten.
Yeah.
That's me.
Well, like I said, and like Slim said, there's none of this is going to happen anytime, probably within the next 24 months. But believe me, at some point, something's going to have to give. And this revenue sharing thing that they've agreed on, that's a short-term Band-Aid that's not going to fix the problem. And who knows what's going to happen? There's teams in the Pac-12 that are on the verge of leaving there. Well, according to some people, according to others, that's all a bunch of smoke and a bunch of bullshit. But nobody really believed that Texas and Oklahoma were seriously considering leaving the Big 12 until it actually happened. So...
Yeah, but the difference between Texas and Oklahoma and one of these ACC schools is the Big 12's television contract is not going to keep their money.
Television contract.
That's the problem the ACC schools are having. And like I said, according to what Dan Radkovich was saying, apparent, because from what he's saying, they've had lawyers looking at it for months. And
I'm sure they have.
The general consensus is they're not going to be able to get out of that.
They haven't found any loopholes. So
I think the only plausible scenario to come close to catching up is having ESPN renegotiate, and I don't think that'll happen.
it's not about to happen.
You have to add teams for them. You can get them to renegotiate if you add teams.
Well, there's the other option. There's the other option that we haven't even discussed yet. But real quick, before we go further down this rabbit hole, Nate, I'm going to let you go because I only got 6 spots, and I want to bring on somebody to talk about this.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting me on and for let me talk about my graduation. Have y'all a good, amazing, fantastic day, and see y'all later.
See you later, Nate.
Congratulations, Nate.
Yeah. When Nate comes over to my house, didn't he say that they taught him how to wash dishes? Shit, I'm gonna put him to work. He's gonna be washing dishes. I wonder if he knows how to mow the lawn.
Don't you already have a dishwasher though?
Yeah, well, hell, he at least can load it and run it for me, and then unload it.
Be careful with that 0-turn lawnmower.
He can wash the pots and pans by hand.
There you go.
Well, then what's Mrs. Peete gonna do?
She didn't do it anyway. What are you talking about?
Damn.
The fuck? Oh.
So Slim, do you trust what all these ADs say? I mean, why would they show their whole hand up front?
No, I don't completely trust it, but I don't see a reason for Dan Radkovich to lie about it.
Well, I don't see a reason for him to be honest about it, though, as complicated as all this is.
Well, sure. Now, the part of it I do believe is, like you said, everybody's, at least Miami, because what was mentioned specifically in the article was Miami, Florida State, and Clemson have all agreed to stay because they're changing the revenue split.
Is there an article that lays this out?
This was Miami Herald published it yesterday. They interviewed Dan Radkovich, and that's where I got it from.
Did he say exactly what the revenue share was? Like, I know they didn't
get into details. They gave some broads, like what Pete was talking about earlier with the, you get like an extra 10 mil for making the playoffs, but there's other things too. Okay. He said some of the details were still having to be ironed out. He said, but the deal was pretty much done.
Huh. Okay. So the inequity's based on performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, it's going to be incentive-based. You get more money if you do good.
You get more money if you do good. Yeah.
And I'm not entirely opposed to that idea because a lot of people have been saying for a long time that, what is a team what do schools like Vandy, what kind of incentive do they have to improve in any way, because they're getting the same cut regardless?
Right, but team-based incentives do not help the conference. It helps individual teams.
There you go.
And it also is it's also going to make probably create a bigger chasm between the top tier teams in the conference and the lower tier teams in the future.
Oh, that's gonna. I mean, NIL's doing the same thing, so
well,
I think it's all heading that direction.
NIL's player. That's player money, not team money.
Yes, but at the end of the day, we all know the schools with the most money are going to end up with the most money to throw at recruits.
There you go. What's good for the player is good for the team, right?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, look at Colorado. Colorado's getting recruits left and right.
Yeah,
they don't have a lot of money to throw at them.
But some of their players are getting huge NIL deals. But is that helping Colorado as a university? Probably not. I mean, I guess if that gets a player to a 5-star to sign with your school that normally wouldn't, I guess that does help the team in that way. Yeah, I could see that.
Exactly. Yeah.
It just still seems wonky because I could go to the Big Ten or SEC and I'm guaranteed $30 more million, as opposed to now it's a performance-based thing where I might not get it in the ACC.
Well, not really. Just say for the sake of argument, okay, Miami made the Final Four. Looks like they're going to make Omaha. And if they make the playoffs...
It looks like they're going to make Omaha.
Yeah, well, they're, number 11? Last time I looked.
It doesn't mean you're going to go to the College World Series.
Yes.
Yeah, well, once again, they're playing pretty well. It looks like they're going to make Omaha.
That's what.
But let's just say, for the sake of argument, they make the tournament, they make Omaha, they make the playoffs. Okay, then there's no disparity between Miami and the rest of the Big Ten. But
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
you
that
still
goes
have
right to
to-
Pete's
They're not
point
giving one
that
school $30 million for making those three things.
And the 30
They
million
don't have $30 million to
guaranteed.
give.
That doesn't address what I was saying. Like it's like being salaried as opposed to hourly. Why would you not just take the guaranteed money?
I mean, this is
well,
also based on the premise that you can't go to the Big Ten right now.
I mean, well, really bad comparison because I've passed up on a couple salary jobs because of how it sounds all great, but no, they work the dog shit. Fuck that.
Yeah, I personally know someone who's on salary, a good salary, but they work 80, 90 hours a week. So when you factor in the hourly, it's not quite the way it sounds.
Yes.
Yeah, but
My
he's
buddy
probably
just quit a
bonus,
salary.
too.
My buddy just quit a salary job where he was making more money turning wrenches
Yeah.
before he
All
was
right.
a
Well,
shop
maybe
foreman.
it's a bad comparison, but
Yeah, I
still.
get your point.
I said that. It was just a bad comparison.
Yeah, no, I get your point. But I also believe that again, this is a short-term thing, and I know you're saying there's a deal in place and all that, but deals are made to be broken. We know that. And the chasm that's going to happen over the next 3 or 4 years between the ACC and well, we know for sure the Big Ten and the SEC there's already been a discrepancy there. It's only getting bigger, and now you might even be able to throw the Pac-12, depending on what happens with some of the realignment stuff that may happen.
The Pac-12 exists, so they're not going to make more money than us.
Well, why do you
And
say
that's
that?
the thing. I think he's right. I think the Pac-12 is going to end up ceasing to exist.
Because Oregon and Washington are not staying in the Pac-12, and nobody cares about a conference with the rest of those schools.
Yeah.
But it seems like the ACC should be courting those teams and getting in the West market
Sure.
and reworking their grant of rights.
That
deal based on that.
now you're talking wreck, because that would save the ACC and put them on par revenue wise.
Okay.
I mean,
well,
because
to
look,
that point, just
if you
because they haven't
Why would Oregon and Washington do that?
Well, hang on, Rick. To that point, who's to say that they're not just because they haven't said so publicly?
Well, sure.
but
I'm
that
just saying they should.
yeah.
Didn't North Carolina's AD throw out something like that to merge with the Pac-12 or something?
That would be something there, because then you have the West Coast TV market, which is huge. I mean, well, it's huge, but potentially huge. I mean,
You have it without California, pretty much, or the big California schools.
well,
Yeah, but it's better than
I mean, it's
nothing.
better
it's
than
an
nothing, but I
avenue.
don't think Oregon or Washington has any incentive to join the ACC.
If their
This is why
conference
we need
ceases
Golden
to
Blue to do
exist,
that.
they do.
sure.
They can join the
Yeah.
Big Ten.
Chris will solve this problem in 2 seconds.
You're just saying they could join the Big Ten. I mean, how was it going to be 50 teams in the Big Ten? I mean, at some point, yeah. And again,
Well, and to the exact point you're making, the SEC commissioner said we are not looking to add any more teams at this time.
Nope.
At this
that's
time.
another point. Like,
Yes, but if Clemson and Florida State said, "Hey, we want to join," they're not going to say no.
but then
I
they're gonna
find it
not
funny
play
that Slim just
non-con.
takes these athletic directors at their word when they say we're not looking to do this, we're not looking to do that. Well, you're not looking to do it until you are looking to do it. So,
But that's another thing I think to discuss. Like, if the Big Ten and SEC swell any bigger, I mean, they're just not going to play non-con games. Like, that's a scheduling issue too, which further creates
I've
parity
actually thought
between.
about the scheduling because I'm a nerd. So you can play 9 conference games and do what the ACC is doing, but it's 4, 5, 5, 5.
3, 5, 5.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have divisions, and I kind of like having divisions, but yeah, I mean, I guess there's a way it could work.
Why is it the two Georgia Tech men are the ones adamant about keeping divisions? What's up with that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I eat the same thing for breakfast every morning, and I like my routine.
Yeah, at the same time,
Hey, I can feel you
to
there.
be innocent.
Plus, they like
I
being.
feel you there.
Plus, they like being in
an inferior division. Yeah, you're right.
Colby, you really want
Hey,
to start
wow.
this again?
Pete,
Do you
have
really
heard
want to
about
start
the-
this again, Colby?
No, Pete, have you heard about the job rant?
That hasn't really helped them, but
Have you heard
Right.
about the job rant?
Dude, Colby cannot. Somebody please equate Colby with reality. That rich people get away with shit that poor people can't get away with.
Oh, I'm not denying that.
all right, Slim. Maybe you should be the one to do that. But
I've tried.
Am I the only one that's curious about what Rec Talk eats for breakfast every morning? He said he eats the same thing for breakfast every morning. What is that? Cream of
Like
wheat?
oatmeal or something boring.
He eats Wheaties because he's a winner.
Raisin
I do.
bran.
I do the instant oatmeal.
See?
I told you.
You're right.
Mix that 2 bags. 2 bags.
Do you like it like a certain flavor, like apple, cinnamon, or what you drink? Brown sugar? What do you?
I mean,
Are
that's
you
cute.
spying on me?
Was that right?
Oh, my 6-year-old
Yeah.
eats it too.
yeah, 2 bags, not just
So
one.
he eats baby
Yeah.
breakfast.
Good.
Me and my daughter, who's 3, will have the same thing for breakfast.
Exactly.
There you go.
Baby food.
That
It
one
makes it easy.
Well, like I said, my 6-year-old has the same thing for breakfast.
thing, right?
Well, I don't know if you've realized this, but I am about the maturity of a 3 or 6-year-old. So,
I'm not going to argue with you, sir.
Yeah, I think we noticed that.
well, and as far as the divisions, it's because our rivals in the ACC for Georgia Tech are doo-doo and don't make any sense, and I'm never going to be okay with it.
We can agree with that.
Helped y'all lately.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I kind of agree with you because exactly what I thought would happen happened. We ended up with a majority shit yearly teams that we play.
I mean, we have Wake and Louisville and Clemson. Only one of those makes sense.
Which one? Clemson?
Something.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
We all pulled away from us.
that we're golden black.
I've stopped arguing with other Clemson fans on the internet about me not caring about the rivalry between Clemson and Georgia Tech. And it doesn't have.
Wow.
Is it a rivalry?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well,
It's going to be a tough game, but
Well, okay. And here's a question, Pete. Am I wrong
I mean, North
for thinking
Carolina
that?
and Clemson was a rivalry in the 80s, but we don't consider it one anymore.
well, yeah,
Is
but
North
we're
Carolina, South
officially.
Carolina rivalry, Luke?
Am I wrong for thinking that Miami or Virginia Tech should have continued to play each other every year?
I like keeping the Big East stuff alive. Yeah.
I like North
That
Carolina
makes
playing
sense.
Miami every year too, but
I mean, if I had my way, it would have been Florida State, Virginia Tech, and Clemson would have been our 3 every year.
Yeah, it feels up to you, but it's not up to you. So
No, it's not up to me. They're not smart enough to ask my opinion on these
there you
things.
go. That's
Yeah. Okay.
not
he
smart.
makes sure Miami is set up since they screw everybody else.
Yeah, pretty
Well,
much.
Well, someone was going to get screwed in that, and we were one.
I don't think most Clemson fans would have been too pissed off about that.
Sure.
All right, boys. I'm going to head out.
All right,
All right, see you later, Colby.
comment there, Tater Man.
Huh?
Clemson's 3.
Would you have had a problem if Clemson played Miami every year?
No.
All right, see, Tater Man
Who's
wouldn't have cared.
Clemson's 3? It's Florida State, Georgia Tech, and NC State.
Yes.
Yeah. See, that works out perfect for Pete because they get to keep beating up on Dave Dorn for as long as he's there.
Dorn.
And Tech.
Well, wait a minute
Speaking of
now.
NC State, by the way,
wait a
they're
minute.
really
Wait a
trying
minute.
to
Why
negate
are
it
they
for
going to
us.
keep beating up on Tech with the Lord and Savior Brent Key there?
Well,
Yeah,
it's been in the
Brent Key is the
past.
greatest coach of all time. He's the next Nick
Yeah, how's
Saban.
that work? Yeah, they didn't think about
Dude,
that.
he's going to make Nick Saban look like the Will Muschamp of head coaches.
He's going
Okay.
to win 17
I never
national
said that,
championships.
Slim. I'll tell you this: we're going to be better than we have been, though. I do
I
know
doubt
that.
it.
That's also not a high bar.
Shut up, Slim.
Yeah, he's going to win 4 games a year instead
Not
of
a
3.
high bar.
I can't wait till we beat the shit out of you this coming up year, Slim. It's
Dude,
gonna,
you couldn't do it against a terrible Miami team. We
Not
blew
that
you off
hard
the
to
field.
we ain't talking about last year. We're
Yeah,
talking about
yeah,
Key
yeah.
sliding it in.
Okay.
Rooster says, what do you think a good number is of teams if it turns into 2 or 4 conferences? Well, I don't really know if there is a magic number there. I think once you get over, oh man,
There's only, if
I was
there's
gonna
only 2 conferences. I think 20 is perfect because you have a scheduling format you can use.
yeah, I would agree. I agree with Luke there, but 20 seems like a lot. But it's for
It is
yeah.
a lot, but 16
Here's
is
my
also a
problem
lot.
with here's my problem with that. If it goes to 2 conferences, and it's just the way it's going to be, I'll start watching college football the way I watch the NFL. I'll be a casual fan at that point.
Yeah.
I'll watch
If they're
more
not in
games.
the
The AFC,
conferences,
the
yeah.
NFC.
Oh, you can't do that.
Well, unfortunately, I will because it's just then it is going to become a straight NFL replica.
Okay.
Yeah, if I wanted to watch the NFL, I'll watch the NFL.
Oh.
I mean, there's a reason I only watch Tampa Bay games in the NFL.
Well, I think most NFL people probably just watch their team, right?
Most of them that I listen
No.
to, they watch a bunch. They watch NFL games the way I watch college games.
I mean,
I'll watch just
every
about any
NFL game I
college game
can.
that's on.
I guess, yeah, like in the Northeast and traditional NFL areas.
Pretty much everywhere except the Southeast.
We lost Slim.
Yeah, he probably went through a bad part or a tunnel or something. I don't know. But to answer your question, I'd say 20 is definitely the max. I don't know.
Yeah, once you get up into like 24, you might as well just have another conference.
Yeah, it may as well be like the AFL and the NFL. Like you just have a different league altogether if you start to get up in those numbers.
Yeah, once you get to 24, you might as well just do 2 12-team conferences.
Yeah.
Big Ten 1, Big Ten 2.
Right.
Will they have the same revenue share? Will you just get back into the same situation?
Well, imagine the ungodly amount of TV money they'd have to pay. Have a 24-team Big Ten.
Yeah.
Is that even worth it at that point? You can't get a good return on investment if you're paying $2 billion a year to broadcast games.
Well, and then each team gets less too with the more teams that you bring in, right? At some point, it's going to water down the draw for each team, I would think.
Water down.
Hey guys, I got to step away from the mic for a minute. I'll be right back.
All right, Vic, lead us. You're the one that does the show.
Really? Okay.
Good job, Vic.
I wasn't expecting to have the responsibilities thrust upon me. But okay, so I'd say that if 20 team is the max, I guess you could say that 16 is the min. I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't know. It gets
yeah,
like
they end up having a college football north and a college football south. Yeah. You have a Northern Conference, you have a North Conference and a South Conference. Like NBA, yeah, you have the East and the West. This would be
like divisions.
this would be the North college football conference and college football conference.
It just sucks because it's like college football is just something that I kind of feel like was never meant to be if it's just two conferences.
But I thought it was going to be three conferences. It was going to be the SEC, the Big 10, and the Big 12.
There probably will be three conferences, but nobody's going to take the Big 12 seriously.
Right. So they're going to try to add Utah and Colorado and Arizona State. But of course,
NC State and Pittsburgh and all those schools.
Of course, it wouldn't be as good as the SEC or the Big 10. But then again, I mean, all the other conferences already aren't as good as the SEC and Big 10 anyway. So.
Okay, Vic, you don't have to go there.
Yeah, Vic.
Yeah, I know.
The ACC clears.
Room full of ACC people.
Yeah, this is ACC show V2.
I mean, what is the ACC doing though? Because I kind of feel like the ACC is just, they're going to Band-Aid something if they do anything, and they just trust this grant of rights thing is going to save the day.
Sometimes
they're praying the grant of rights is
sometimes that's
hold.
Do, but
yeah, but I just think when there's enough money to be got, I mean, you can find a way out of it. Or I mean, could they just give the middle finger and leave, and then it's on the ACC to litigate it, and you've made so much money once the litigation is up in 10 years, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't know.
That's a good point. Yeah. I think that's probably the more likely route.
Yeah, I mean,
there's also a chance where a team just says, like, we're leaving in 2036 and then tries to negotiate something.
Well, 2036 is way too late. Damage.
They just say they're going to leave in 2036, but they leave before that. They're just trying to negotiate something, but they say they're going to leave at some point.
Well, the ACC, it's like they're going to stick their head in the sand, and when they pull their head out in 2036, they're going to think that everything's going to solve itself.
Yeah, I don't know what the ACC thinks is going to happen in 2036 if this does hold.
And then if it does disintegrate, and I'm one of the teams that aren't in the Magnificent Seven or whatever, then I think you have an argument. I'm not paying the $120 million because why would I? Everyone else left. There's no conference left. Why am I paying the ACC?
Well, a lot of the teams not in that don't have anywhere to go, so they're just going to take all the money they can and still stay in the ACC.
There will be somewhere to go for them. Somebody will scoop them up.
Who's going to scoop up Boston College or Wake Forest?
Well,
the Sun Belt?
Sun Belt, there you go. That's it. Sun Belt or the American or
the Big 12's putting together mediocre teams. Maybe
is the Big 12 just going to have a 60-team conference of all teams that aren't in the SEC or the Big 10?
I don't know.
That'd be wildly entertaining if they did that, though.
It could.
You have 56-win teams.
Probably the first avenue for the ACC is to try to expand. In that way,
Nobody's
if they
join the ACC,
well, why would you say that?
because there's no reason to join the ACC.
What?
Why would a team want to join the ACC that 7 teams actively want to get out of right now?
Well, they wouldn't want.
Well, first of all, you're assuming that I'm mentioning that other Power 5 teams join the ACC. I mean, we've already seen UCF, Cincinnati, Houston. All these teams are moving up to the Power 5. There's no reason.
Who else is there? How is App State going to increase our revenue enough to keep us keep up?
It won't, but I mean, you got to do.
It's all about TV markets. Do you think? What do you think the reason is that UCF is attractive to the Big 12?
TV markets.
Because of the Florida TV market.
The TV market, yes.
It's not because UCF's some world beater that's going to come in there and take over the conference.
They might.
Well,
that was mischievous.
They could be in the Big 12 championship.
My point is, so well, here's my point. I think the first avenue, the easiest avenue for the ACC is to try to expand. If that fails, or if that, just let me finish. If that fails and doesn't work, the next order of operation is to try to find a way to get out of the deal. But I do think that there's things about the ACC that are attractive, especially since there's other sports that are involved other than just football.
Oh, yes, right. We forgot to think about the other sports. That's right.
Now, the one that matters the most is clearly football. That drives all the other sports, but there are other reasons other than just football to join a conference.
Yeah, and I don't know what the temperature is with ESPN, because you think as the ACC could be like, look, we got to do something, because if we don't, there's no conference anyway. So there's no market anyway. So can we work a better deal out with ESPN? But Disney's pretty brutal. They'll probably just give you the middle finger. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah, I feel like all the schools would have to threaten to join the Big Ten, because then ESPN is just moving revenues across if they join the SEC.
But Luke's doing the same thing. You guys remember whenever they announced that Texas and Oklahoma, the two blue chip teams in the Big 12, right? The biggest revenue generating schools in the Big 12 decided they're leaving and going to the SEC. Everyone was like, well, how is the Big 12 going to expand? Who in the hell is going to want to join that sinking ship? And then what happened?
Well, they haven't got the best group of 5 schools to join.
Right.
Fine, yeah.
No, but you're pretending like there's not other group of 5 teams on the level of the ones that join the Big 12. There's many of them.
Well, name some. Yeah. What would be teams that would be good for the ACC group of 5?
App State, Boise State. I don't have a list of the group of 5 teams in front of me, but there's I mean,
App State would be good.
Old Dominion.
No, not Old Dominion. Stop it with that.
They beat
Memphis is joined Big 12.
Memphis?
Right? Yeah.
Virginia Tech twice. They've proven that they can compete.
Well, Virginia Tech was terrible when they. I mean, that's not a good comparison.
There's no way any conference has Liberty, so I think we can cross that off.
What about Georgia State or Georgia Southern?
No, I don't think so. No.
We already have Atlanta, so I think we'll be fine.
There's some really good group of 5 teams out there.
Coastal Carolina.
Coastal's going to fall off the map because their coach left.
Somebody mentioned Liberty. That's actually not a bad one, but
I think there are some reasons they're not going to get Liberty.
And they got Coastal Carolina's coach.
Sorry about that, y'all. Insurance adjuster called me.
Yeah, I don't know why you would want to leave.
Was that for the tornado?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah. They started to cut me my second check, and he was calling me back.
Yeah. So why would you want to leave Coastal Carolina to go to Liberty?
Yeah, that was weird to me. That you would think he would have left.
Question.
Liberty paid him a lot more than Coastal Carolina will ever pay him.
True. I just thought if he jumped ship, it would have been to a Power 5 school.
Yeah, somebody said Zona says Marshall. See, there's another one. That's interesting. I mean, I don't know.
Well, what's the word on Notre Dame? I don't know. Like, could you convince Notre Dame to stop being stupid?
Well, here's the thing: Notre Dame right now, according to the Irishman, is trying to negotiate some kind of crazy deal to with the current station that they're on. To where it would make sense that they be outperforming every ACC team by a mile, and also with the 12-team expansion of the playoffs, they don't have much incentive to join a conference at this point.
Or is it small?
I think they do, and I've brought this up before. I actually do think the ACC still has leverage to bring in Notre Dame, and I don't care what Notre Dame man says. NBC is not going to pay them the equivalent of what ACC teams are getting for 6 games.
They're going to pay them a lot more than the equivalent.
Well, they have their own TV deal, and why would they want to enter this grant of rights where they don't have any freedom?
Because their TV deal is so outdated that it doesn't even match up to the ACC's.
But their TV deal runs out in a couple of years. It's not like.
Yep.
Yeah, so they can wait 2 more years and then negotiate a new. They might even be able to negotiate a new contract before the current one's up.
Yeah, but you think they're going to get $40-50 million a year out of NBC for 6 games?
Yes, they will.
Yeah.
They will.
I don't believe they will.
They can easily get $10 million a game, and that's 60 right there.
I don't believe they will.
I thought I saw John post a video talking about something around $85 million a year. Now, I don't know if that's just speculation or I don't know anything about it, but he knows more about it than I do.
Well, I mean, if NBC is going to make that kind of brain dead deal, then Notre Dame would be dumb for not taking it.
Right.
But I don't see NBC being that stupid.
No, they're probably not that stupid, but you never know.
Well, they're like a national brand.
Exactly. I don't see. I'd be surprised if Notre Dame joined the ACC anytime soon in football. I just don't think they need to.
I'd be shocked if that ever happened.
Well, they could wait until their TV deal runs out and see where the ACC settles.
Yeah.
Before.
Notre Dame also signed a grant of rights for other sports.
I'd be shocked if Notre Dame didn't join a conference. And right now, and you're right, Pete, that contracts can be gotten out of, but right now, contractually, they can't join another conference. And the point I brought up before, that nobody really knows how burnt those bridges are with the Big Ten, because the Big Ten tried to force Notre Dame's hand and make them join the Big Ten at one time.
Well, I'm sure they would gladly take them if they wanted to go to the Big Ten, though, no matter what happened.
You say that, but, I mean, there are people in this world that will cut off their nose just to spite their face.
Well, if it makes sense monetarily, they'll do anything. That's all it's about. It's a business.
Yeah, there's not much I won't do if the decimal's in the right spot.
Yeah. Yeah, well, tell us exactly all the things you would do.
It's all about the commas, decimal.
You want me to make a list?
No. I don't want to be freaked out and creeped out. So no.
My pride ends here.
Rick Talk will suck 2 dicks for a while.
Yeah, we knew that's where it was going. That's always the question. What would make you go gay? What decimal point?
Oh, God.
Hey, Pete.
Wait a minute. For a good grade or for the right amount of money, it's not gay. It's just good business.
Yeah, it's just good business.
That's what we would tell ourselves. Correct.
That's good business, yeah.
You know.
and then if you get 3, well, that's just good business.
Hey, we have a guest on here, Florida State man Harlan Harris. What's up, Harlan?
Hey, appreciate y'all letting me join, Pete. I heard you say, the best option is for the ACC to expand, and we actually have a show on YouTube too for Florida State, and I don't really understand that, right? Like, I mean, you and me both know. Sorry to North Carolina, Miami, everybody else in here, but Florida State and Clemson have carried this conference for however long. Why would we want to bring more people to Missouri? Does that make sense? I mean, I don't.
Yeah,
really
no.
understand.
So I don't know if how I phrased it. What I said was the easiest route under the current situation would be to expand. I'm not saying that that's probably the best route. I think it's the easiest route. I agree with you that the best case scenario for Clemson or Florida State is to get out of that sinking ship. But it's not the easiest route based on the grant of rights.
So do you think maybe this incentive deal is to just get closer to the grant of rights? Because the buyout gets lower and lower the closer you get.
I think that's absolutely what it is, yeah.
Okay.
Well, not only the buyout you're looking at, it's, from what I've read, my understanding of it is they can't get out of the grant of rights itself, which isn't a buyout. It's the ACC network owns their TV rights.
Well, you can buy yourself out of the grant of rights.
Yeah, you can buy yourself out of whatever that is.
You have to buy your way.
Yeah,
out.
No,
but
but
just say for the sake of argument that North Carolina, Miami, Florida State, and Clemson all end up in the SEC. Yeah, I mean, once again, what y'all just said, if it makes money, it makes sense. You think they're going to give up that $100 million a year per team?
Well, the person that owns that $100 million is the same person that would own it in the SEC, which is ESPN.
One gun game.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
There you
I
go.
also agree that it's in ESPN's best interest that the ACC and the ACC network both succeed because, I mean, they're out millions of dollars setting up the network.
What's making more money? What makes more money? The TV revenue from Clemson and Florida State being in the SEC or the fucking ACC network, Slim? Come on. The ACC network is. I bet you. I'd be willing to bet you that the ACC network takes a loss.
I would be willing to bet you if they make the investment in it, they can make more money having both networks.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do know that Florida State's athletic director said, what was it, last football, was at the end of the football season, so earlier in the year, that they've crunched the numbers and that conceivably within 4 years, grant of rights withstanding, they could find a way financially to get out and make it work. So now,
yeah, they can find a way to pay that 120 or well, by the
no, I said grant of rights withstanding, not just the buyout.
Yeah.
Because you have to also figure in when it comes to leaving and joining a conference like the Big Ten or the SEC that it's not, the burden is not just on the team. You could get help from the conference itself financially to make it work if it works out for them. Now, it might be the first 3 years or whatever the conference is not really making money off of bringing that team in, but it's a long-term thing. So
well, and I think you and Luke and Rec Talk too are also all working under the assumption that if Clemson voted to leave the ACC tomorrow and did, that the SEC would just be like, "We'll come right on down." And I don't necessarily think that's the case. I don't think it's that simple.
Well, nothing's simple when you talk about these kind of things, but if it makes sense financially, especially in the long run, they'll definitely do it. I mean, the last thing that the SEC wants, because look, the Big Ten is already the revenue leader in the country, more than the SEC right now. Now that changes year to year with all the expansion and shit and that's going on. But the last thing that the SEC wants is for teams like Florida State or Clemson or Virginia Tech or Miami to go to the Big Ten and make that chasm even bigger. So. Yeah, if it came to a place where it was actually possible financially for Clemson and Florida State or Miami and North Carolina or any of these teams to go to a different conference, you better believe the SEC is going to want them and not want them to go somewhere else.
The only people that don't want the SEC to get Florida State, Clemson, or South Carolina and UF.
Yeah.
That's it.
So
well, that's part of the reason Miami ended up in the Big East, because UF raised a stink about Miami joining the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, guys, the reason I started the show early today is I had to get off at 12. It's now 5 after, so I got to go.
Oh,
yeah, I started the show at 10 o'clock this morning instead of 11. But yeah, thanks all you for coming on. It was a great discussion, and I'm sure we'll have many, many more discussions about this as more news comes out. It sounds, according to what Slim says, is there's not going to be much news for the next at least a year or two, based on what the powers that be in the ACC are saying. But I also believe that the powers that be in the ACC are not telling us the whole story, and they're gonna try to do whatever they can do to save face publicly. For the time being,
I agree with that.
Yeah, so we'll see a lot more behind the scenes in the next couple of years, and I do believe there's going to be one of those two things is going to happen by 2026, or maybe around 2026. So two years is that we're going to see either an expansion of the ACC, which would be the easiest but not best choice, or you're going to see a handful of teams or more jump ship. Now, how that will all work out and play out, I mean, there's a lot of different things, moving parts that go on there. But probably one of the other things that's really going to drive this is what's going on around the rest of the country. So if the Pac-12 disbands, I mean, that leaves a whole nother avenue for swallowing up teams from the Pac-12. We talked about that a little bit. So there's a lot, and same thing with the Big 12. So anyway. All right, guys. I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir.
Rec,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, VicTube, and of course Slim Shady Canes. I'll see you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
All right.
Okay. Bye, Pete.
See you later, Vic. Here you guys have it. Thanks for joining me today for the Midday Show. I will be back tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Friday night call-in show. All right, everybody. Have a great Friday. I appreciate you all for tuning in. I'll see you later.